Well, so how do you, I mean, you talk a lot about consumer behavior, right? And I think
Hmm.
two things that I'm curious about. So one is, how do you expect it to change moving forward, right? So now that, and the problem is, right, Revlon isn't just a US business, right? It has, an international footprint, and not every country is going to operate the same, right? Not everybody's getting the
Right.
same kind of vaccination rates that the US is getting. So how do you expect consumer behavior to change broadly? Like what are you, paying attention to? And then also, I'd be really curious to understand like what your process is for observing consumer behavior, right? What are the tools
Mhm.
that you use to better understand? Obviously, there's a bunch of them, including just general intuition, but would love to understand those two things. How do you expect things to change? And then what's your process for really thinking about kind of the consumer and how their behavior is changing?
Yeah, sure. I mean, I think everyone's trying to predict what's going to happen on the back end of COVID, and trying to see what behaviors will stick.
Yeah.
Because I think there will be some elements of just doing things at home more
Mm-hmm.
that will sustain once we get to some point of normalcy, whatever that looks like. But as far as trends and what we expect on the back end, I think self expression is one that we expect to continue to really boom post COVID. Also, there's been a heavy emphasis on I. From a
Mm.
category perspective, if you think about it, a lot of people have had to wear masks. Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. Pe- you got it. You got it.
Yeah,
A lot of
yeah.
people have had to wear masks. And so the only way to really emphasize self expression has been with, eyeliner, shadows, mascara, brows. And so we expect that that's going to stick and continue. Another thing has been multi-benefit products. So consumers are looking for products to do multiple things, whether that be, color for your shadows and your cheeks and your lips all at one time. They really want to get more out of their products. So we expect that to be a trend. And then last but not least is long wear. So very much so related to the point that you were just making around masks. Think about the way in which it transfers, or
Mm.
makeup can transfer onto the mask. And so, long wear allows you to not have to worry about that transfer and being able to operate in your normal, daily life without any concerns or, any issues. And so those are some of the things that we expect moving forward. As far as like our process, there's several ways. Some of it is mental, and some of the just category trend data
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
sources that everyone has. So of course we're really closely linked into those. We have offices around the globe, so we tap into some of that local intel to really understand what's happening and what we anticipate to happen in the future. And then I think the third thing you mentioned is spot on, which is gut. And so I think having a lot of people who have beauty experience allows you to also supplement some of that data that you have just with intuition. And so it's a combination of factors. I think at the end of the day, what we want to make sure is that it's grounded in consumer insight, that we are testing and confirming our intuition, and that really does give us a lot more confidence on success for where we decide to focus and innovate.
Yeah, I mean, I'll have conversations with people every once in a while. I'm like, I've got this great idea for, cardboard boxes, right? And I won't bore the people on the podcast with it, but long story short, every household in America is getting like 5 to 10 cardboard boxes a day. Used cardboard boxes are worth about $1 to $1.50 per box. There's no reason you couldn't go out, collect those from the houses, save money for the, recycling companies, and it works out to being like for a small town, $3 to $5 million worth of boxes a year, right? So like there's a huge
Hmm.
opportunity there. And I tell people about like, why are you thinking about that? And I think that, that's just as an entrepreneur, like that's what I'm thinking about all the time. And I think for you, similarly, like you've been in the marketing industry looking at consumers in the beauty focus for 15 years or more. And so, that's just what you live and breathe and think. And yeah, it's a much bigger element than people realize. Well, let's take a
Much,
step.
I totally agree with that. Not to
Yeah.
cut you off, I was just going to say, at the end of the day, we talk about all of these reports that give you some inkling and insight, and then talking to consumers. But at the end of the day, consumers only know what they know, right? And so they
Yep.
don't
Yep.
know that they want something until it's an option for them to have it. So that there's an element of it that of gut and intuition that always plays a part that you can't underestimate.
For
So
sure.
I
And
like your idea about boxes.
it's a big idea, I think, actually. And on top of that, there's a cardboard shortage globally too. So this is a huge problem,
Ah.
and it's environmentally an issue, and blah blah blah. But we're not. We want to talk about you today, and it's really interesting your notes about the mask thing, right? Because I hadn't really thought
Hmm.
about it. I think in my head, because I'm so ready to be done with this thing, I'm like, okay, yeah, mask thing's over, but it's gonna be around for a while, particularly internationally. And yeah, I'm curious to see when that'll wrap up. Like in the US, when will it just, you won't be required to wear a mask inside? Or if you have like a vaccine card, you won't be required to. I don't know.
We'll see. And even if you're not required, what will consumers do?
Yeah,
Will they
there'll be a lot
feel
that
a bit
will.
more protection, just to have it? So I think it'll definitely be a lot more evolved from where it was pre-COVID. Whether it will become a norm as we see in some of like our Asian, countries, I don't know. But I
Yeah.
definitely think that it's something for top of mind for all of us to kind of keep in our minds.